Though there does not have to be only one bank, a sole monopolistic bank, we have taken this approach in order to clearly visualize the mechanism. Now, let us imagine that there are many banks, and that they are all relatively small. As we will see, a very similar process takes place, and the result is the same. Let us consider how this process works. If the banks are very small, the probability that money will return to them is null. In other words, k equals 0. When one of them makes a loan, and the person or company that receives the loan pays suppliers, none of these suppliers will happen to be a customer of that bank, and therefore the money will not be deposited back into the original bank. Does this mean the process of credit expansion is blocked? No. We will see that it is identical. It simply involves various banks. Now, instead of just one bank, Bank A, there will be a Bank A, a Bank B, a Bank C, a Bank D, and so on. And what we will do is add up the balances of all those banks. So, Bank A, ladies and gentlemen, the example we have already looked at. Mr. X arrives with his 1 million monetary units and deposits the money. So far, so good. Bank A makes the entry 1 million cash and then loans out 900,000. It keeps only 100,000. Loans to Z, 900,000, cash, 900,000, demand deposits, 1 million. Well, Company Z, which receives the 900,000, pays its suppliers. For simplicity, we will suppose there is only one. In real life, the money is divided up. Different portions go to banks C, D, and E, but I'm simplifying this. There is only one supplier, and she deposits the whole amount in her bank, Bank B. Not Bank A. Do you see Bank B here? It receives a deposit of 900,000. It leaves 10%, 90,000, in the vault and lends the rest. And the person who receives the 810,000 units from V deposits it in his bank, Bank C. Bank C receives 810,000 monetary units, keeps 81,000, which is 10%, and lends 729,000. And the 729,000 ends up in the pocket of another person, Ms. T, who deposits it in her bank, a different bank, Bank D, which receives 729,000, keeps 10% in the vault, 72,900, and lends the rest, 656,100, and so on. Well, we can show that if we add up the deposits in Bank A, 1 million, and the deposits in Bank B, 900,000, and those in C, 810,000, and those in D, 729,000, and so on, we get the same sum of the terms of a geometric progression, with a common ratio of 1 minus C, and that the multiplier is expressed precisely in formula 27. If the reserve ratio is 10%, 0.1, by how much are deposits multiplied from nothing? By 10, 1 divided by 0.1. If a reserve ratio of only 5% is maintained, 0.05, by how much are deposits multiplied? By 20. And if the reserve ratio is 20%, which gives us 1 divided by 0.2, they are multiplied by 5. So, now I ask you the following question. We know that in the Western world, approximately 1/10 of the money supply is in cash, and 9/10 is virtual money, bank accounting entries. So, based on 1/10 and 9/10, we might think the reserve ratio is 10%. Is the reserve ratio 10%? No. In the Eurozone, take note, after the Maastricht Treaty, a reserve ratio of 2%, 0.02 was established. Well, any of you might raise your hand now and complain. Listen, Professor, everything you have said is a lie. Banks' capacity to expand from nothing, perfect money substitutes, or fiduciary media not in the form of cash in the vault, is 1 divided by 0.02. 50 times, and not 10, as you have more or less said happens in reality. How can this be explained? Well, dear students, it is due to a series of additional complexities. But the most important of these appears on page 239. You see, dear students, up to now, we have imagined an economy that is 100% banked, in which everyone uses a bank, and in which all of everyone's balances are in the bank. And that is not so in real life. A very substantial section of the economy is made up of people who carry out their transactions in cash. The underground economy accounts for a significant proportion of transactions. I use cash. I don't want to leave a trail. We do not have to go to that extreme, though the underground economy does account for a large part of economic activity. There are many people who, due to custom, tradition, taste, etc., conduct their transactions and pay in cash because they do not wish to use a bank. And this amounts to a sort of filtration out of the system of means of payment which do not ultimately return to the bank. So, even if the reserve ratio is 2%, it is as if it were 10%, practically speaking, because of what filters out of the banking system. And all the formulas are worked out for you on pages 239 to 241.